Hello, good morning. I'm Rudy Altamirano. Welcome to the third day of Forerunner. We are very excited to have you here. Today we will have an amazing session because we'll be interacting with Penn faculty and Penn administrators. This will be a two-part session, so we are encouraging you to stay until the very end because you will be hearing very important information that will help you succeed in your journey to Penn. I will start first with a faculty panel. You'll be engaging with great, amazing faculty members of the university. And then we will have a short, maybe 1 minute intermission, a Penn Trivia that will be asking you questions about. And then the second part will be focused on our Penn administrators. So with that, I would like to start by introducing our faculty panelists for this morning. We start with Dr. Chow Guo, who is Associate Professor of Nonprofit Management. He is a professor from the School of Social Policy and Practice and Associate Faculty Director of Fox Leadership International. Chow is also Editor-in-Chief of Nonprofit and Voluntary Service Quarterly, the premier journal in the field. Chow, why don't you say hi to our students?
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm very thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Go. Next is Dr. Michael Horowitz. Dr. Mike Horowitz is the Director and Richard Perry Professor, Perry World House. He's also the author of The Diffusion of Military Power, Causes and Consequences for International Politics, and the co-author of Why Leaders Fight. Dr. Horowitz, Mike, if you don't mind turning on your video and say hi to our students.
Good evening, everybody.
Next is Dr. Carol Muller. Dr. Muller is the Professor of Music, Ethnomusicology, School of Arts and Sciences. He built the very popular Music 50, Introduction to World Music and Cultures that fulfills 2 college requirements. Dr. Muller, do you mind turning on your camera and saying hi to our new students?
Hi, everybody. So welcome here. I also take students abroad. So through Penn Global seminars, I do a lot of community engagement. So I'm thinking a lot about student well-being through the arts. So welcome. There's so much that we can engage with at Penn. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Muller. Next is Dr. Swapnil Sheth, Director, Program Chair of the Master of Science in Engineering and Computer and Information Science, ISSMEC program. His research interests include computer science, education, software engineering, and privacy. He's originally from Mumbai, India. Dr. Sheth, Swap.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here. Welcome to Penn.
Dr. Nichols, Philip Nichols, JD LLM, who's a Joseph Colodny Professor of Social Responsibility in Business. He's a Professor of Legal Studies and Business Ethics, Wharton School of Business, and Professor Nichols is also the Faculty Director of Stauffer College House, where he and his family have lived for more than 20 years. Phil.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. And last but not the least, Dr. Ann Tiao, Assistant Dean for Student Services, Graduate School of Education. She teaches diversity in higher education, the only course required for master's students in the division, Contemporary Issues in Higher Education and Building Inclusive Communities, which is a capstone course conceived and developed by Dr. Tiao to put students in a position to apply the theory and skills they have learned in other classes to real-world concerns and problems. Dr. Tiao. And can you say hi to our
everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Penn.
Thank you. Now we will have all the videos on so that you can see the faces of our faculty for today. And then we will be asking all the questions. And what will happen here is I will be asking the questions directly to a faculty member. And then at the end, we will have a general question that I'll pose to all the faculty. And we will now also get questions from the Q&A So if you have specific questions for our faculty, our esteemed faculty here, please put that in your Q&A, and we will have a correspondent from that room to ask the question. I'll start the question for Dr. Swap. Are you ready for this question? What are some challenges that you have noticed that international students face in this new world of online learning, and how can they overcome them? Swap, take it from
Yeah,
here.
thanks, Rudy. That's a great question. I think there are a few different challenges, and I think the biggest challenge really is adapting to what a lot of people are adapting both in real time. So, like, the faculty are trying to figure out what's the best way to teach the classes, the TAs are figuring out what's the best way to help students, and the students are figuring out what's the best way to learn. So, I think the biggest challenge that we've seen is for people to remain on top of like their material. So, for example, you know that the lectures are recorded, so it's very easy to say, oh, I'll just watch the recordings on the weekend. But the weekend comes, you don't get a chance, and then things get pushed back. So I think time management becomes even more important in the online setting, because with the physical classroom, you have this thing where you go to class Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, but that's really hard to enforce in online. So my biggest suggestion would be make sure that you stick to the same schedule, try to attend it live or watch it the next day as much as possible.
Thank you, Swap. I'll throw the question now to Mike, Dr. Horowitz here. Tell us a little bit about Perry World House and its academic opportunities for international students, especially for new students who are not aware of Perry World House.
Sure, thanks, Rudy. Perry World House is UPenn's hub for global engagement and global affairs. Our focus is bringing the world to Penn. Leaders from around the world come to Perry World House in person every year, and this year they'll come virtually. And we have a lot of opportunities for students, and especially international students, to engage. Our World House Student Fellows program is for students across Penn interested in careers in global affairs, and 40% of our World House Student Fellows are international students. We also have a number of events and seminars throughout the year, a weekly series called The World Today, a series of talks on books, rapid reaction events in response to pressing global matters, things that are happening around the world or sometimes in the United States. And so if you sign up for our mailing list, if you just Google Perry World House, it'll appear. There's a lot that you can do to engage with us, and we view ourselves as both a hub for the study of the world, but also a home for Penn's international students. And even though we won't be able to meet in person in the Perry World House space, most likely this semester, we're super excited for when that can happen again. And we're really excited about the opportunity to engage virtually with all of you. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Horowitz. Dr. Muller, here's a question for you. What are the best practices that you can share with us so that students can successfully work with you as a professor? Carol, turn on your, yep, there you go. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. That's a really great question, because I think there are cultural differences in the way in which students think of faculty. So what I would say is I have come from South Africa. I grew up in a very different system. So I never felt I could really approach a professor. If I didn't agree with a grade, I never contested it. But I think in America, what you have to realize is that advocating for yourself is really an important skill to have. So if you feel that there's something you're not understanding, you need to ask. If there's something that you're falling behind on, you need to ask. Now, every professor will respond differently too. So I think you need to recognize that each person has their own way of doing things, and that also is part of the sort of American and Penn culture. So some people will be very attentive, some maybe a little bit more, but if you need to get information, you need to ask for it. I always say to students, if I haven't answered the email that you sent to me, just send it again. Do it very gently and politely, but just send it again. Sometimes I can get 100 emails in a day, and you number 78, and it just slipped my mind that I didn't respond immediately. Maybe I don't have an immediate answer. So I would just say to really make sure that you engage with faculty. Don't don't be overly aggressive. Also be respectful. But the thing is to self-advocate. The other thing I would say to you is also if you're struggling a little bit and a professor can't help you, Penn has as you're going to hear today, so many other resources that can support you. So my biggest question to you in sort of being successful with a faculty member and as a student is to reach out to find the resources that you need. Don't sit panicking that there's something wrong with you. There isn't. You're just dealing with a lot and you need to find the help that you need.
Thank you, Dr. Muller. Thanks, Carol. Appreciate it. Professor Nichols, this is for you. What advice do you have for students working in small group projects or cases? Small group projects. That can be very challenging sometimes.
Yeah, that's a great question for this audience. One of the concerns we often hear is that students who would be designated international students sometimes feel excluded from or not overly integrated into small group projects. And the advice would be similar to the advice that Professor Muller just gave, which is, you're operating in a different context now, and you need to partially self-advocate. I want to also add, you can always turn to, at least in my classes, you can always ask me. Faculty have a lot more experience just by dearth of doing this year after year and can help make these sort of things happen. But you need to politely and respectfully, do more than sometimes is culturally appropriate in a lot of the places I've taught. You need to understand that it's okay to say to the other people in your group, I don't think that's right, or this might be a better way of doing it, or I really do want to take some responsibility for this part of the project. If groups are self-forming, which a lot of faculty do, you're more likely to be in a position where things aren't going to work out your particular way. And that's when you especially need to take some initiative that might seem awkward to you, but it truly will not seem awkward to the people that you're working with.
Thank you, Professor Nichols. I'll now go to Professor Tiao. Anne, what are some misperceptions that international students might have of Penn faculty?
I think that's a really good question, Rudy. I think that for many students, the ones that we work with, there might be some misperception that either they're standoffish, you can't approach them, that you might that they might not listen to you or be open. And I think, as Dr. Muller and Professor Nichols have already stated, it is very much expected in American universities, and especially in the Penn culture, that you reach out. I always tell students, one of the reasons you come to Penn is we have a plethora of resources. So we would also say, don't only go to one resource. If you're not getting what you need from either the faculty member, or maybe you need a different way to be able to get into one of these groups to be able to talk, there are people who can help kind of outline some best practices to get in and to have those discussions. When we ask you to take initiative, we're not asking you to do it on your own and figure that out. It might be awkward to you. It might be something you've never done before. It might be something that your friends don't even have maybe suggestions for you to move forward. And so there are always plenty of resources out there. One of the things that's going to happen, especially near orientation, is you're going to get blasted with a whole bunch of different resources, and it's going to be hard to remember all of those. In your mind, as you're going through those, write down one or two or three that you can go back to. Those people may not be able to help you with your specific issue, but they will be able to help you get to the next stage, right? So, people you don't feel like you can approach, faculty who might seem like they're very busy. That's, I think, for many students, I find that they're most worried of bothering you because we are all very, very busy. Well, we're all very busy, but we're here to help you. That's one of the very important things to remember, that we're here to help you. And so I appreciate Dr. Muller saying that, email us more than once. There is nothing wrong with that. You can do it gently, but as someone who gets hundreds of emails on a daily basis, it is very difficult to get to everybody. That does not mean that we're ignoring or not seeing to your problem. So we want to make sure that you are being heard and utilize the resources that are out there. Professors, even a professor maybe that you have a really good relationship with, might be able to help you with another class. Don't see it as all singular kinds of pieces. They are all kind of connected to a larger whole. So I think the faculty very much, as I think Dr. Horowitz said, that you might get differing answers and differing responses from people. That doesn't mean, though, that people don't want to work with you. A lot of it is just learning the way to be able to navigate the world and differences in people.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, Dr. Guo. We are taking all the fall courses online asynchronously. Is there anything we can do together? For example, research apprenticeship, group projects, and many more this fall to help enrich our learning experience?
This is a great question. My faculty colleagues here have already suggested many good ideas. And each program would probably approach these questions differently. For our International Master of Public Administration program, we hope to do something. And this is new to every one of us. So we hope to do something to create a stronger sense of a community. Because since our students are all over the place, they're in different places of the world, and we want to make sure that our students can still feel connected with each other, to feel part of a bigger family. So in that, to that end, we are currently proposing two initiatives with our students. One is to read one book together. We call it One Book, One IMTA. And we have chosen a book by a prominent public administration scholar, Donald Kettle. It's a book called The Divided States of America, How Federalism Doesn't Work. It's a fascinating, thought-provoking book that really, tells how the American democracy evolves and how the political system functions and the challenges and opportunities. So it's a great book to read together. And the second is more personally, I have a research project that I'm operating in China and hoping to involve at least some of my students in the project so that they can learn how to conduct field research on certain subjects. So these are some of the ideas that we have that we hope our students will enjoy.
Thank you, Professor Guo. Now I'll ask all the panelists the same question. From your own perspective as a professor, as a faculty, how do you define what is a great Penn student in your own personal opinion as a faculty? What for you is a great Penn student? I'll start with Dr. Guo since he's already in the screen here.
Okay.
What is a great Penn student for you, Professor?
Well, that is a wonderful question. And I'm sure my colleagues here have different answers. I have told my students already, some of them who are here probably would remember my answer. That is, our program is only as good as our students, and our university is only as good as our students. And I envision our students to be future leaders of this world, no matter you're a nonprofit business or government leader. So I hope, I know my students will take on the challenges no matter what circumstances you are under. You are always creative, you always persevere, you show your perseverance when you are confronted with challenges.
Thank you. Okay, let's see, Dr. Tiao. I can see you from my left corner here, so why don't you take it?
Sure. I think that, one of the wonderful things about being at Penn is there's a very large diversity of students, right? So I think hard to define what a great Penn student is, and one of the things that I always say at orientation, that I want students to know is one of the things that I would like to challenge you is to go beyond your own comfort zone. So everybody comes in with different learning. Everybody brings something valid to the classroom. And so what you get out of it is very different for each person. But what I challenge students to do here is practice the things that are hard for you in the places that are safe for you to do so. You know, we don't want you making your most difficult decisions the first time on the job in front of your boss. That's not the best time to do that. We'd rather you do that in the classroom, amongst professors, amongst students, to be able to try those really, really difficult things, those challenging things. We don't expect you to come to Penn and learn the things that you already know. The job is for you to come here and learn something new and different and be able to practice those skills in ways that maybe you haven't tried before, in ways that, you know, especially for those of you international students, coming to an environment that is very different for you. And be that's online or in the classroom, it will be different for you. And so just ensuring that you get to practice those skills and working on them and getting what you want out of the programs, I think is incredibly important.
Thank you, Professor Tiao. Now, Professor Nichols, it's your turn. What is a great Penn student in your own personal opinion?
I've been thinking a lot about that ever since Rudy mentioned that would be the question. And to be honest, I think Penn students already are great. I love them so much, and I feel it's been so amazing to live with them for over 20 years now. I think that part of the answer to that question, and everything everyone has said and will say, I agree with. But I think part of the answer to that question is the students I've seen living here in Stouffer College House who get a lot out of Penn are students who don't worry about being great, who don't think that there's, you know, a path that leads them to greatness, and don't worry about the accolades. At the end of graduation, you know, we make a big deal out of students who did certain things, but everyone here is great. The students who untether themselves and say, wow, you know, I have 4, or if you're in engineering, 5 or 6 years to exist in this amazing, unreplicable place with all these amazing and unimitable people, and interact with them and learn from them and teach to them and just be with them. The students that I really see getting so much out of Penn are students who don't look for a formula or don't look for a set of directions, which is hard, because to get into Penn, you basically need to be an uber formula follower and an uber achievement achiever. So it's hard to untether yourself. It really, really is. The one thing that both Professor Miller and Professor Tiao and Professor Guo have mentioned so far is, and everyone else will, is that there's a huge number of people here to help you understand that and do that. And, you know, the reason people are here is you. And you should take advantage of that if you want to. We're here for you. And very little you can do would bother us.
Thank you, Professor Nichols. Professor Muller, what is your take on this?
Okay, so I have a couple of things. I also live in the college houses. I haven't lived there as long as Phil, Professor Nichols, but I have to say I love living in the college houses because I love Penn undergrad. So let me tell you what I love about them. First of all, Penn undergrads tend to be very enterprising. They are people who want to problem solve the world, and that's amazing. That's what I love about the creativity, the innovation, those kinds of things. So that's the culture you're coming into. That said, a bit like Phil, I want to say, free yourself from other people's pressures. So I did a thing one time where I heard a Penn undergrad, and I've said this, I think last year too, who was saying, what have I learned at Penn? I've learned that other people's successes are not my failures, because you are everybody's uber super having got to Penn, but just find your own path. I think that would be the most important thing that I could say to you. I also am a freshman advisor, and I've just had to say to one of my students whose mom, she told me, whose parents really want her to be on the pre-med path, and she's in first semester and trying to work out what she's going to do. And I just said to her, pre-med is great, but a great medical practitioner is also somebody who has a wide knowledge of the world. You are an undergraduate once in your life, for most people. And Penn has so much knowledge to offer, things you would never think of even engaging with. I encourage you all to even just pick one, even if you're an engineer, pick one or two classes where you've got a little flexibility to find something amazing to study that you wouldn't otherwise find out about. And then the last thing I want to say to you is reach out. Penn Global has these amazing seminars abroad, and I just had a student who graduated who went to South Africa with me about 18 months ago, and she said to me, the friends I made on those 10 days, so we do a whole semester and then we travel for 10 days, the friends I made in that class are the friends I would not otherwise have made at Penn. And I realized when she told me who her close friends were, that these were friends that come from such different parts of the world, that one class brought them together and one class of intensive experience. So look for the things like community engagement, global engagement. Look for the things that take you beyond just classroom learning, because Penn has so much to offer.
Thank you, Professor Muller. Professor Horowitz, your take on this question.
It's such a great question, and I mean, honestly, my first thought when you asked it was that, I mean, all of you are so great. I mean, I look at what the average Penn student does, the courses, the activities, the clubs, and I cannot help but think I would be such a failure if I had to go to college now. It's like, really, like, you all are so impressive. I have no idea how you do it, and students are the life and the energy of the university, and it's such a privilege to be able to work with Penn students. And you know, one of the greatest honors of my career has been launching the student programming that we run at Perry Worldhouse. And part of that, I'm a political science professor, and one of the things I've loved about Perry Worldhouse is being able to work with students from across the university and learning that there's not just one type of great Penn student. There are many types of great Penn students, all who have different ideas and different areas where they focus. And I think that that's really important. And you know, broadly, I'd say a great Penn student is one that gets engaged, and as others have said, not just in the areas that they already know, but in a way that tries to expand their horizons, in a way that tries to you know, does something a little bit different, whether that's taking a class outside your area. Like, I took a Shakespeare class, for example, when I was in college. I still remember pieces of that class. It had nothing to do with my major, but it's something that really stuck with me. The students that try to join clubs or activities that aren't necessarily the things that they came in interested in, because you never know when you're going to take that class or have that interaction that changes your life, because you discover something new. And one of the amazing things about being at Penn is that you have the opportunity to do that with all of these incredible faculty and staff and programs. I mean, we're here to make you succeed, and we're really excited about that.
Thank you, Professor Horowitz. And finally, last but not the least, Dr. Sheth, Professor Sheth, your take on this question.
Yeah, thanks, Rudy. I'll actually echo a couple of the things people said earlier, and I think the biggest thing that I would encourage everyone to do is to explore. And this ties in a little bit to what, like, Professor Horowitz said just 2 minutes ago, but explore from a lot of different perspectives. So let's say you're a computer science major. You, of course, should take computer science classes, but you should also take classes in the other schools. We have some fantastic classes offered in Wharton, in the college, and all the other schools that we have. So don't limit yourself to just your major, because there are a lot. That's the advantage really of coming to a place like Penn. We have fantastic faculty in a lot of different departments. But also beyond classes, think about what else you can do. For example, you could get involved with research either as undergrads or as grads. You could be a teaching assistant. You could stay at the college houses. You could get involved with like the Penn Philly community. So we have a bunch of like programs with local high schools, for example, and you could volunteer and teach over there, for example. There are a lot of local companies that do like events for startups, and you could work with one of these startups. So in some ways, you could be very insular and say that I'm just here, I'll take my classes for the next 2 years, 4 years, whatever it is, but you'll miss out on a lot of like what Penn and Philly has to offer. So that I think is what makes a great Penn student, is to sort of just broaden yourself to beyond just classes.
Thank you, Professor Chef. So that ends our formal moderated panel. We will go back to you folks. If we have enough time, I will ask other questions that, from out of the blue here, as we enjoy interacting with you. Jackie Billick, from our offsite correspondent, will now be asking questions from the Q&A portal. So Jackie, throw your questions, and any professor can take it. Maybe one or two for one question. That would be great, so that we can share the love here. So Jackie, first question.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rudy. This one comes directly from the Q&A chat today, and it says, I'm worried that students attending class in person will have advantages compared to me, who can't arrive to the U.S. and has to attend virtually. What's your advice for this?
Okay, who wants to take this? Raise your hand so that we don't overlap with one another. Yes. Okay, Swap, I saw your face. Do you want to respond? Go for it.
Sure. So I would say, so again, maybe this depends on like which class you're taking and stuff like that, but like the undergrad class I'm teaching is 400 students. So most of the students are not going to be on campus, and even if we are on campus, it's way too large to have classes in person. So I don't think you're at any disadvantage to begin with. If you feel that you may not be able to manage as well as maybe a person who's coming to class in person, I would say talk to the professor, because they will have advice on like what you can do. Like things will be recorded, maybe watching the recordings works for you, maybe it doesn't. Like we are going to suggest to students, for example, for SIS 120, that you form like a watch party with like 4 or 5 friends. So you get a little bit of a social interaction, and you're all watching either remotely together, and then you can ask each other questions, and if you can't help each other, like ask the TAs or the professor. So I personally don't think that there is any disadvantage in that sense. All of us are trying very, very hard to make the online classes as close to the in-person like experience. So I don't think there will be a disadvantage.
Thank you. Anyone wants another take on that? I think, Swap, you covered a lot of bases here. Jackie, another question from the Q&A.
Sure, absolutely. So this question also comes from the chat, and it asks, how can I engage with professors before the semester begins?
Okay, who wants to tackle? Mike, do you want to? I see your face. Do you want to do this?
Sure. I think the best way to engage the professors is to reach out. I mean, I think that I think Carol, and others had mentioned it. I mean, to reach out and to not be afraid to follow up. I mean, I just can't emphasize that enough, whether it's from before the semester or during the semester. We get a lot of email from a lot of people, and we all do our best to respond immediately. Sometimes that doesn't happen, and frankly, I'm sorry. By the way, for everybody that emails me where I don't respond that day, let me apologize in advance. But please follow up, because it's not because I don't want to talk to you and engage with you. And I think the best way to engage before the semester is to find, especially on the research side, find professors working in areas that you're excited about, and ask if you can have a conversation with them about their research and to learn more. Because trust me, professors really like talking about their research, and they'll be thrilled to chat with you. And that can provide the gateway to opportunities, either as a research assistant or mentorship in general, or ideas for courses to take. I mean, so I think the best way to get involved is just reach out to faculty that sound cool to you.
Thank you, Dr. Horowitz. Jackie, is there another question from the Q&A?
Can I say something, Rudy?
Yes, go for it.
So I just want to say thank you. This summer, I'm working with 2 undergraduates. There's a program through the Center for Undergraduate Research called PERM, which is Penn Undergraduate Research Mentoring. So I have 2 students. We're doing it online. One's in Massachusetts, one's in California. We're working with the South African jazz musician, so we Zoom him for 2.5 hours. if you ask me about the research that I do, not only could I speak to you, but I can point you to the students who are working with me too, and they can give you their take on it. So that it's not even, sometimes a professor can just point you to other resources. They can say what they have to say, but they can also point you to the experiences of other people. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Thank you, Professor Muller.
And Rudy,
Jack,
can I add?
yeah, go for it, of course.
Can I chime in here?
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
I think if there's anything that this pandemic has brought us that's positive, is that it has in some way motivated our students to be more proactive, to be an early starter. And I have never seen this before. I have so far been receiving students from emails from our incoming students on a daily basis. They're all asking questions about the program. They wanted to start early. They wanted to do something during the summer, which I didn't really see in the past. I think that's a great thing. I would recommend one book or two for students to read, for them to learn a little more about the program, about the background, about the major. But most importantly, this is still summer, and the hard work will begin in the fall semester. So take advantage of the summer and have some fun and explore the world, and then come back in the fall semester, feel fully recharged to study.
Thank you, Chow. Anyone else? I think that question is very popular. A lot of you want to answer that question. Going once? Oh, Jackie, another question from the Q&A.
All right, we're back with some more questions. So this is a good one. What are some challenges that you've noticed international students have had difficulty with in your classes, and what would you recommend to help new students in these areas?
Okay, if you're ready, just turn on your, who wants to answer that question?
Rudy, I'll take that one.
Go for it. And yeah, take it.
I would say that students definitely, whether or not they have challenges with it or not, state that they really want interaction with various different people, right? That you want to meet different people, interact with students, interact with professors. And what I would state, especially up front, and I think I heard more than one professor say this already, is get involved, right? So there are going to be lots of different activities. Sometimes the classroom isn't always the place that's conducive to actually meet and talk with other people because of the way it's set up. If you're in a lecture, there's not going to be a lot of time to talk, obviously, within the classroom environment anyways, but there will be lots of opportunities outside of the classroom to meet in various, there'll be various discussions and other things that are small seminars. I know a lot of our faculty are working on out of the classroom kind of community building kind of activities. I really suggest, especially at the beginning, before the homework load gets heavy, is to go out and meet people. This is going to be the best way in which to be able to do that. And there will be plenty of opportunities given for those, especially online and some in person, to be able to get to know each other. This is where you're going to learn those interactions and then work to kind of build those interactions in class. Raise your hand, talk in the classroom, interact. I think that the more you feel a sense of belonging within the classroom and in the Penn space, the more that interaction and the desired interactions with different people will come along.
Thank you. And anyone else take that question?
Yeah, I'll go for that, Rudy.
Yes, wow, go for it.
One thing I would suggest to everyone is to get familiar or find out what the rules and expectations are for pretty much like all of your classes. So for example, like in my undergrad, recitations is not a thing. I did my undergrad in India, we didn't have recitations. So when I came to the US, I had no idea what a recitation was. So finding out like what it is, like should I be attending it? Is it optional? Is it required? What benefit do I get out of it? So I think those sorts of things, and every class will have like different structures around this. Find out like what the rules are and what the expectations are. And somewhat related to that, one thing that I knew a lot of my friends and like students in my classes had trouble with initially was like academic honesty. So the US has very different rules potentially from where you did your undergrad or where you did your high school. To find out like what is acceptable, what is not in terms of collaboration, what is encouraged. And again, try to stick to the rules. And with a lot of these things, the best thing, if you're not sure, is ask the professor.
Thank you, Swap. Okay, Mike, go for it. I can
you know,
hear
an
you,
example.
Mike. Yep, there you go.
Just to echo what others have said with an example from my own experience, I teach a class on war and strategy, and a segment of the class focuses on the U.S. Civil War. And this back when I was an assistant professor, two international students in the class came up to me, and as an ignorant American, I hadn't really thought about the need to provide sort of basic background material on the U.S. Civil War for international students that might not be familiar with the sort of general background that a student raised in the United States or that went to high school in the United States might pick up generally, and that was my fault. And so as soon as the issue was raised to me, I apologized. I sent them materials, and now that's on my syllabus to provide those resources. And I try to think about these things. And if I did that, then any professor could do that. And so I think it's really important to reach out and ask for assistance if you don't know anything. If there's something that you don't know, if there's something that you need an assist with, I think asking a professor, asking a teaching assistant, we're here to help. It's our job to help you succeed. And if you let us know, often the response is going to be exactly what I did. Oh my God, I screwed that up. Let me fix it.
Thank you. Very good advice. Anyone else? Okay, Phil, go for it. Yeah, definitely.
In addition to all these wonderful observations, which are all true, one thing I've observed with first year, whether it's graduate, undergraduate, doctoral students who are, first year from some other place, is it's difficult to pick up on social cues, and that's particularly important in a classroom that asks for a lot of class participation. And as has been said, you can turn to the professor and say, look, I don't understand when I'm supposed to talk. I don't understand when I'm allowed to interrupt. I don't understand who initiates a conversation. Please be more explicit and point to me or, include me. Or you people in the audience, can talk to your roommates, your fellow doctoral students, whoever, and ask the really difficult and embarrassing question, which is, I don't understand the social cues. Please help me understand that. And I know in the college houses, I've seen that conversation many, many times. You just need to ask. But don't be intimidated by the fact I studied abroad, and I was lost socially. Don't be intimidated by the fact that you don't understand social cues. It's natural, and it's just another thing you need to figure out.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. Okay, are we ready for the next? Jackie, do we have another great question from the Q&A portal?
We do. The next question we have from the Q&A is, in your opinion, how should students spend the rest of their summer productively? Do you have different suggestions for undergraduate and PhD students?
Okay, who wants to take that question? Productive engagement for grads and undergrads. Did you get a question, or do you want Jackie to repeat it? Yes, Phil, go for it.
I hate to be the person who speaks twice in a row.
No problem.
The social cue there is don't do that. But
you're the first one to raise your hand, so I saw you. So go for it.
The question itself is an interesting question. What does productivity mean? But a couple of people so far have talked about recharging your batteries. This is going to be a difficult semester for everyone. There's no getting around that. I don't mean to be a doomsayer. As someone who's preparing classes and preparing to try to create community in a college house, I'm already overwhelmed. So perhaps a very productive use of the remaining part of the summer is to just recharge your batteries and to not worry so much about getting a head start. Swimming would be a really great thing to do. Fishing, if you're a graduate student and over the age of 21, drinking with your friends, those might be it sounds like a non-Penn kind of piece of advice. but those might actually be very productive for what you're going to be doing next semester.
Okay, thank you. Mike, I saw you raise your hand. Do you want to add, or Mike, and then we have a Chow?
I would just like to be clear, please follow all rules and regulations concerning the consumption of alcohol in your home countries and in the United States when you arrive here. That is important for safe and responsible behavior. Thank you very much.
That's very good advice. Okay. You want to add anything else beyond that, words of wisdom? Or
No,
I agree with
I think that's absolutely.
Professor.
I think that's right. This is going to be a really hard. This is going to be a hard semester, and like we're working hard to try to make this make this experience as amazing as possible by taking advantage of the things that we can do virtually. For example, crafting our classes to be able to do that. But this is going to be challenging, and taking a little bit of a mental break before school starts is important, I think.
Very good advice. And then Chow, and then Carol.
Well, in the spirit of Professor Nichols' advice, and also taking Professor Harwood's advice to heart, maybe drinking is not necessarily the best thing to do during the summer. You can certainly drink one or two if if you're at a legal age, but it does inspire me to think about something that we all can do. This question is not only relevant to students, but also relevant to faculty as well, because this is extraordinary time. What can we do productively and fun during the summer so that we can be fully recharged? For me personally, I would want to pick up a skill that I didn't quite have in the past. Like I started practicing guitar. I used to play a little bit in college, not very good, but I want to do it now so that I can really enrich my life. So this is something that try something that you haven't done before, or try something that you haven't really found the time to do in the past, and do it during the summer.
Thank you, Chow. Carol, go for it.
So mine really sort of continues what everybody is saying. So this summer I have been in the Midwest because my family is here, and I started biking along the river because I'm not in a very bad COVID area. And then I started to just become very aware of what this place is. It's not my home. It's not where I grew up, but trying to create connection between what the things I love about my home where I grew up in South Africa and what I love about the place where I am now. So I've been thinking, because I'm teaching an arts and well-being freshman seminar, I've been thinking a lot about how do we carry a memory of home with us when we eventually move, and you will eventually move. So it would be really maybe to look in your home environment right now and start to think of the things that are most valuable to you. Last week I was in northern Minnesota on a lake that my father-in-law built a cabin on when he was still alive, and at night I suddenly heard these amazing loon sounds. So these are birds that do a kind of call and response. So I recorded it a little bit. I'm going to use it in my freshman seminar somehow. So what I'm saying to you is look around you. You have a phone, probably, with a recording capacity. Record the things that matter to you so that when you come, you have a way to connect the value of home with creating a new home on campus. You're on the bridge right now between the two. So build the resources.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, Jackie, maybe one last or two questions from the Q&A.
Sure. This next question we have is asking, can international students work closely with professors, for example, as teaching assistants while in remote classes?
Okay. Carol is nodding her head. Do you want to take that, Carol?
Again, following on, but I've taught online for a very long time, 17 years at Penn. I've had students who have been in Italy and been my TA. That's the great thing about being online, right? Is that it is possible. And as I just said to you with my undergraduate research mentors, we have 4 different places represented in our gathering doing some research. So what enables you to do a class is not everybody. I mean, if you're in a science lab, it might be a little bit more difficult. But I think in some disciplines, it certainly is a possibility. So
Okay.
you just have to see what each context is before you, but I would still ask because you never know. Professors can be really innovative.
Okay. Any other innovative thinking there? Yes, Swap, go for it.
Yeah, so overall, absolutely, like we always have like a ton of like TAs in all of our classes. So you can absolutely TA and take like remote classes. The only caveat I'll add, and this is very much of a moving target, and ISSS and Penn Global is really like the expert on this, is we are not quite sure what the legal implications are for hiring people outside the US. So there's a little bit there that we are like all the departments are working with like Penn Global to figure out like what is allowed and what isn't allowed. But assuming that's fine, we have like a bunch of like students who you'd love to have as TAs. So yes, absolutely modulo the tax implication / restriction part.
Yeah, so following up on that, just consult with ISS. We have a lot of FAQs about the topic because we have some differentiation about working from abroad, and then if you are not documented yet, and then those who have no documentation yet as international students, we have to work with you on that. So thanks, Swap, for bringing that up. And of course, let's go to the final question for this session. Jackie.
All right, our final question is another more of a technical question, and they are asking, are students able to take classes outside of their specific track informally without credits, aka are we allowed to audit classes online?
Just turn on
I
your
can take some of I can take that. So I'll mention this from sort of both sides. So if you want to, like, let's say I'm teaching like CIS 120, if you want to audit the class, we are generally perfectly fine with that, and we can share like the recordings. The website is public and things like that. There are certain things that we cannot do, like give you access to like TAs, because the TAs are based on the number of students officially registered. So generally this is fine, but I think every school has policies on what's allowed and what's not allowed. So it'll depend in part what your home school is. So let's say you're in the college, and then which school you want to take a class in, let's say engineering. So you'll have to check both schools' policies on what is allowed and what isn't allowed. And the rules vary whether you're undergrad or grad, and whether it's in this school versus that school.
Okay, we will be also covering a lot of that. We have some representatives from the Vice Provost for Education on Friday. So maybe we can also bring that question also with Dr. Mastriani and Dr. Purpura. Any other words of wisdom from our faculty panel that you would like to impart? How about let's just go around, quick millisecond advice. Let's start with Professor Nichols, and then I'll call on your name, and just if you have one advice to give them beyond what you already said, share it. Start with your Phil, because I know you can come up with a great one. So.
The advice I usually give has to do with NSO, and that is take advantage of everything. This year, NSO is going to be radically different, and it will be tempting to not participate in a lot of NSO. I would take advantage of NSO, especially the opportunities to meet people virtually, because that's going to be where a lot of this starts. NSO, take advantage of meeting friends.
Thank you. Anne.
I'm actually going to say something and reiterate something that everybody I think has already said. If you need something, ask. You don't come to Penn and not take advantage of all its resources. So please make sure that you reach out. If you don't get it from one person, try somebody else.
So ask is the word, keyword, ask. Carol. Carol, turn on your mic. Yeah, there you go.
It is on. If you're getting to know people virtually, we're not always sure what the rules are. So I would say if there are some errors, don't worry about it. Just reach out to others.
Reach out. Stretch your hand. Very good. Ciao.
Learn a little bit of the history of Penn and the history of Philadelphia. Penn is one of the oldest universities in the United States, and Philadelphia is the very first capital city of the country. So it has a lot of history. Understanding that part of history will be very helpful for you when you come on campus and come to live in Philly. But most importantly, remember, you are a part of what makes the university beautiful. So be prepared, and we really look forward to meeting you.
Thank you. So learn beyond the walls of academia. Mike?
And it's rough going after everybody else has said the good things. But I would say, I think engage. To engage not just in your classes, not just in your activities, but take advantage of the privilege that we all have to be associated with the University of Pennsylvania, the incredible events that we have, whether they're Perry World houses or other sort of centers and institutes across campus, the opportunities to engage. Though, if you look around the Penn website, if you add yourself to email lists across campus, even areas you're not really sure about, there's so many opportunities to engage, and that will still be true this semester, even as we're much more virtual than we would want to be, and take advantage of those opportunities.
Thank you. So engagement is another key advice here. Swap, why don't you end with that advice of yours?
Sure. I would say, some people have said this earlier, but relax. I'd say get some sleep and hang out either virtually or in person with your friends and family.
Thank you. With that, I would like to thank our esteemed faculty, Dr. Sheth, Professor Nichols, Professor Thiao, Professor Horowitz, Professor Guo, and Professor Mahler. I know how busy you all are, and we really, really appreciate, on behalf of the international students, our new incoming class. Thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. See you next year in another part of the world, hopefully, in Forerunner Global.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Students, as you have heard from the faculty, make sure that you are engaged. So I want you to stay put, don't leave us, because you'll be meeting high-level Penn faculty, Penn administrators who will be engaging with you on the next part of this program. So, it's a great opportunity to hear from faculty, but it's also a great opportunity to hear from Penn level, high-level administrators. With that, let's have a 1-minute intermission, and this will include your engagement. This will involve you. So we want you to have fun, engage, and have a relaxing one before you introduce the next group of panelists from our Penn administrators group. Ryan, take it from here, and then we'll go to the next session immediately.
Thanks, Rudy. Well, we've got some Penn trivia here for you. We're going to task you, see how much you know about Penn. So this first question is, what food is traditionally thrown onto the stadium field after the Penn football team scores a touchdown? Is it pizza, popcorn, hot dogs, toast, or all of the above? All right, let's see what you all said. So it looks like the majority of you got it right. Toast. Toast is what's thrown onto the field in celebration whenever the Penn football team scores a touchdown. So great job, everybody. The second response was all of the above. No, they don't throw all of the food onto the field, just toast. We've got a couple more fun questions here for you, so we're going to go on to the next question. According to a Penn myth, this means it's just a myth, it might not be real. What happens if you walk on top of the compass that adorns the pathway of Locust Walk? See an image in the background of the compass that's on the ground there, of Locust Walk that goes through the middle of campus. So tell us what you think. What would happen if you walked across the compass? Will you find your true love? Will you fail your midterms? Will you have good luck? Will your dreams come true? Or will you get lost? All right, looks like we've got a majority of the votes in, and looks like most of you got it again correct. Great job. You will fail your midterms if you walk across the compass on Locust Walk. Not true. It's just a myth. Don't believe it, but that is how the saying goes if you walk across the compass. We've got one more question here for you, and then we're going to get started with our next panel. So our last question for you is, which of these famous people is a University of Pennsylvania graduate? So tell us who earned a degree at Penn. Is it Matt Damon, Natalie Portman, John Legend, or Lady Gaga? Looks like the majority of you got it right. It is John Legend. And if you saw the graduation ceremonies online this past May for our recent graduates, you saw at the very end John Legend singing the Penn Fight song there. So that was really cool to see. Thanks again for playing, and I'll pass it back to Rudy to continue. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. I'm glad. Thank you for being engaged, and thank you for staying put. I think one of the successful Penn students is they stay and they enjoy and they engage and they continue to ask questions and be inquisitive, be curious about what is in store for them. So I would like you to be engaged and still be involved as I introduce another group of Penn high-level administrators here. I'll start with Elizabeth O'Connell. Elizabeth O'Connell is a Senior Associate Dean of Undergraduate Admissions from the University of Pennsylvania. She first came to Penn as an international student from Sweden after having also grown up in the Sudan and Nigeria. Liz, say hi to our students.
Hello, everyone. And again, congratulations. We're so excited to have you part of this class.
Thank you, Liz. Our next panelist is Dr. Sonia Guak, who is the Director of Student Life, Research, and Academic Services at SEASCs. She was born in Korea and grew up in Ghana. Dr. Guak is a Penn lifer and earned a dual bachelor's degree in Design of Environment and English at Penn, going on to earn an MSED in Intercultural Communication and finally a PhD in Education, all at Penn. Sonia, why don't you say hi to our incoming students?
Hi, everyone. I think my hair is a little longer than from the picture because I haven't had a haircut since March. I welcome all of you to where I spent most, if not all, my adult life. I am happy to answer any of the questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Guak. Next one is Dr. Yu Hong He, International Specialist in Staff Psychologist, Counseling and Psychological Services, or CAPS. Dr. He is passionate about working with individuals and groups with marginalized identities and social justice advocacy. He provides multilingual counseling workshops and consultation in English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. Dr. He has also been part of Forerunner since its beginning in 2015. Dr. He Yu Hong, say hi to our incoming freshmen and students, grad students.
Hi, everyone. So excited to be part of the Forerunner again, although that we are not able to see you and greet you and welcome you in person, but still this is a wonderful opportunity to congratulate and welcome you to Penn.
Thank you, Yu Hong. Our next one is Dr. Ryan Miller, Director of the Office of Learning Resources, Weingarten Learning Resource Center. He earned his EDD in Reading, Writing, Literacy at Penn GSE in 2016, conducting research on the benefits of groups inquiry for students and staff within post-secondary learning courses. Ryan, say hi to our new students.
Thank you, Rudy, and hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I think you met my colleague, Julianne Reynolds, yesterday, and I'm happy to represent the Weingarten Center, where we have folks working in learning resources who can provide you with consultations on study strategies, student disability services, and also tutoring services. So thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Miller. And last but not the least, a wonderful colleague, Sharon Smith, Associate Vice Provost for University Life. Sharon has been part of Forerunner for the past 4 years. Sharon, say hi to our new cohort.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm really happy to be here to represent the university. And yes, I've been a part of Forerunner for the last 4 years, and I was always excited when I got to say Ni hao when I was in China. So hello and welcome to everyone. I'm also been a lifer at Penn, I guess, but also I was born in Jamaica.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everyone. Let's now meet our panelists, and I'll ask them questions similar to what we did with our faculty panel. So Liz, you'll be the first question here. Why are international students important to the Penn community, Liz?
Lots of different reasons. Penn is a global institution. It is critical for us. We build a class in admissions, the different voices, the different perspectives. We are a community of people having opportunity to engage with people from all over the world. Every single international student in this year's class, whether you're a graduate or undergraduate, is a voice, is a person, is a perspective. And it's critical in the classroom. Think of a freshman seminar and the discussion that goes on to have different perspectives. But it's also about your life at the university. You heard the faculty speakers talk about being in the college houses, being with fellow students. You look at what you do outside of the classroom, and also look at all the contributions that our international students have made to Penn. Penn Holy is one of our new Penn traditions, where everyone gathers on College Green in white t-shirts and throws paint on each other and celebrates. Well, that's something that was brought from South Asia. Look at all the wonderful performing arts groups. Look at, for example, Pensori, and apologies to our Korean students for my mispronunciation of the word sound in Korean, and many other contributions. And look at Penn's history. We go back to Benjamin Franklin, our founder, in 1740, but international students have come to Penn since the 1800s. An interesting factoid, to the best of my knowledge, our first international student came to study medicine, was from Cuba, Venezuela, China, and Japan, where our students came from in the 1800s. And for those of you who walk down Locust Walk and Arch Building, where so many of our centers are located, there's a wonderful framed photograph of our first Japanese student who came here in the 1800s. So it is a critical part of our experience. We are here for a 24/7 experience, whether it's 4 years for undergraduate or postgraduate. And our international students, their voices, their contribution is a critical part of what makes Penn what it is today. And we are so happy that you're here to join us today.
Thank you, Liz. Sharon, this is for you. What is the importance of the Vice Provost for university life for international students?
Well, first, again, I want to welcome everyone. And I think our Vice Provost may be an audience participant this morning. She may be on the other side. She is new to us, Dr. Mamte Akapati. She may be with us, and also acknowledging Dr. Jane Holohan from Weingarten Learning Resources Center. What is the Vice Provost for University Life? It is a core student-facing service. What it does, it starts from academic, personal, cultural, and professional, and it helps support students through their journey to reach their fullest potential. In our previous panel, I list a number of things that I heard the faculty say, and we fit those characteristics very well. Resources, taking advantage of opportunities, and engagement. VPOL is that family, that community that you build, that we help you build while you're here at Penn for your entire career, whether it's undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. Some of the areas that we talk about when we talk about activities are fraternity and sorority affairs. Students might be interested in joining an organization like that or some other performing arts organization. It's a very popular activities that we have for engaging students. That's what we mean when we say engaging. We also have student affairs, and those are similar to what we would call student government. There are different kinds of organizations that students can be a part of. The undergraduate assembly, for example, is one where students can participate. The Graduate Professional Student Association is another activity or resource that students can engage in. On a more serious level, we have career services. And that's where students, and I suspect that you will have career services here. If not, it is the area that students go to look for internships, for jobs. I think for international students, that might be a place that they go to look for opportunities for OPT. It's a variety of resources available to students that can get you a summer job, your internship, and eventually a job. Finally, I want to talk about two areas, which is student intervention services and Weingarten. And Ryan is on the call, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details about it. But when I go to China and India and other places and we talk about some of the resources that are available, and parents will ask, and that question might come up, when I'm worried about my student, what should I do? And my answer is always very simple. Remember to use the resources that are available, and that student intervention services functions 24/7 and will find your child wherever they are. And so if parents are on this call, I always promise, if you reach out to a university resources because you're concerned about your child, our counseling center we work closely with, our special services, student health, we work with our students to get support for them. Finally, Weingarten Learning Resources Center, which we're calling Weingarten Center, has learning resources. And Ryan will talk about that. We have student disability services. And sometimes folks are not quite sure, what does that mean? If you are coming into the university and you have been given resources while you were in high school to help enhance your study because you have challenges with attention deficit or some other disability, the university has resources to help you with that. And then the last piece is the tutoring center, that we offer students a plethora of courses that they can sign up for to get tutoring. So those are the sort of from what I would say, fruits to nuts. VPOL is your family away from home. And as parents, as students, we tell you that we will wrap ourselves in the resources we have to support you. If you want to know a little bit more about VPOL, you can go to the website, and I would encourage you to look at Locust Walk Stroll. Since we went virtual, it is amazing the number of virtual activities and resources that are available to you, and Locust Walk Stroll is one of them. So I'll look forward to taking questions, and on to the next person, Rudy.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, this is for Ryan. Yu-Hong is for you. How do students maintain their wellness when they need to navigate the many challenges presented by the pandemic, immigration policies, and adjusting to Penn?
Yeah, that's a really important question, right? I think first, I would encourage students to first recognize that this has been a particularly challenging time, for everyone. Because of COVID-19, for our international students, the constant changing and immigration policies, and so just so you to know that it's you're not alone in experiencing challenges. Many of your peer students and many other international also scholars and also face with this kind of immigration related challenges. I think it's important to think about that when there are things that are out of our control. we need to rely on, existing resources and support and also guidelines, to deal with the particularly COVID-19 in immigration policies. And with regard to adjusting to Penn, and I think it can be particularly challenging when you are not on campus, to really see what it's like and also to connect with others in a more close physical proximity. However, I think the other strategies can still be applicable. For instances, and really take initiatives to get to know your professor and your TA and your classmates, and also think about exploring and really get to know the campus resources and support. Other than that, and think about also the many student groups on campus, to find those ones that are that interest you and join them so that you feel like you are part of a community. And the third point that I want to make about in terms of maintaining one's wellness is to really pay attention to how you are doing on a daily basis. So it's common to have feelings, right? And sometimes have uncomfortable feelings doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It's just a normal part of a reaction. However, your feelings are also telling you a lot, about what's going on. So take some time to really to understand them, and then also figure out what may you need and what kind of support that you can get. Lastly, practice self-care. Taking classes remotely and being away from others can sometimes be very challenging. So think about establishing a routine on your daily life that you incorporate healthy eating, getting enough sleep, exercise, and also connecting with others. Engage in hobbies and interest. You are not just kind of consumed by by academic kind of tasks. You're actually having a bigger life than just than just your academic. So those are some of the strategies to consider.
Thank you, Yu Hong. And of course, Ryan, you're next. In every school at Penn, there are. Why would a student go to the Weingarten Center? And is it only for students who are not doing well in their classes?
Thanks, Rudy. This is a great question. So I think it's important to know students who access the Weingarten Center specifically looking to meet with one of our learning specialists. So these are professional staff who can meet with you and discuss your strategies for approaching your coursework. We can talk about academic writing. We can talk about exam preparation strategies. But about half of those students are undergraduate and the other half are graduate students. So we really support students in the full spectrum of sort of academic stages, from a first-year undergraduate who's making the transition from high school all the way through doctoral students who are, very far along in their dissertation writing process. Yu Hong raised so many great points and others, but specifically about making connections. And we're always encouraging students to make strong connections with their professors, with their TAs and their classes. And I think particularly in the online learning environment, it's really important to think deliberately about how you can move from more passive approaches to learning to more active approaches. And that's why meeting with a learning specialist, I think, could be incredibly helpful, because it may be that you had an approach to studying or you had an approach to academic writing that worked well for you before. And so we want to understand what strategies are going to be useful in the Penn context. But we also recognize that you chose Penn because it is an academically rigorous environment, because it's going to challenge you in new ways and ask you to do things that you haven't done before. And that means that you may need new and more robust strategies for approaching those academic tasks. And that's something you can talk to a learning specialist about. And what I think is really nice about what we offer is that it's a relational model. So you can try out our different specialists. We're sort of like flavors of ice cream. Once you find one that you like, you can stay connected with that person throughout your entire academic journey at Penn, sharing your concerns, trying new strategies, seeing what works in terms of time management and productivity. Those are all things that we're happy to talk to you about. And again, it's going to be useful at any stage in your academic trajectory.
Thanks, Ryan. Well said. Sonia, you get the last question for this round. In the University of Pennsylvania, in every school here in our university, there are student life administrators like you. Why is it important to seek advice or guidance from these staff members?
So the best way that I can put it is that we are academic advisors in schools, whether they're for undergraduate students or graduate students, are what you might call a shortcut. So all the resources are available to you, and there's an abundance of resources. But to figure out which resources are the most relevant to your needs at that time is not always very easy to figure out by yourself. So an academic advisor can point you directly to the people or the resources that you may need so that you can solve your problems much quicker than if you try to do everything yourself. I think we are all here to help, and we're all here to ensure your success. And therefore, please communicate with us. Let us know what your problems are. Let us know what you need. And if, in my case, I can tell you, I've been at Penn for longer than many of you have been alive. So if I don't have the answer, I actually know who has the answer. So yes, connect with us as often as you can.
Thank you, Sonia. Very good ending to that. I asked the faculty this same question, but it will be different from a Penn administrator what a great Penn student is. Engage with them outside the classroom, and I would like you to give your perspective. What is a great Penn student? What are the qualities that embody a great Penn student? Who wants to take it? Sonia, since you're already facing me now, why don't you start? Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
So when I first came to Penn, I was a design student with a 7-year plan to go to architecture school. And my first meeting with my faculty advisor, he said, take a class that you like. And which is why many, many years later, I became an administrator working in higher education and not an architect. What I would say is the best thing about Penn is that here's an opportunity where you can really explore yourself, what you like, and if you have any change of mind about what you want to pursue, we can make it happen. So don't be afraid to explore. Don't be afraid to change your mind. And don't be afraid to ask your question, because that really makes you a successful Penn student.
Thank you, Sonia. Ryan, why don't you tackle this question? What is a great Penn student?
Thanks, Rudy. I would say a great Penn student is someone who comes not to just sort of receive an education and then move on in their professional life, but a student who looks to make an impact in some way on the Penn community, the other students that you'll be connected with, on Penn itself. I think, Penn, like any institution, is constantly evolving and developing and growing, and students play such a critical role in that. And that's not to say that you need to do more or you have to kind of take on more responsibility. It can be something even as small as making a contribution in your classroom, or recognizing when one of your peers is struggling and reaching out and supporting them in some way, or challenging the institution and saying, I think that there's a better way to do something, or I think that or I see an opportunity for us all to grow and develop as a community. So I think Penn students look to become a part of the community and to have an impact on it.
Thank you. Okay, Yu Hong, take it from here. Same question.
Yes, I think for me, I think of a great Penn student is openness. And I think for our international students, when you chose to study abroad and when you chose to join the Penn community, and it already indicates that you are open to new experiences. You want to learn a new culture. You want to have a different life experiences. So I think that's already an existing quality in our international students and many students. I think I would want to just encourage our students to continue to tap on this openness and curiosity and courage. And so when you are, in your Penn journey, continue to be open to, what the United States, the kind of experience that you will be exposed to, the diversity issues and current political conflicts or progression, and also open to really learn from your peers. And more importantly, I think also to open to your own internal experiences. You will be faced with a lot of new experiences. Some of them are very exciting. Some of them can feel very challenging. So really kind of be open to what's coming up in you, even including in some of those difficult sort of reactions, so that you can really grow as a person in addition to your academic in addition to gaining knowledge and academically learning a lot.
Thank you, Yu Hong. Sharon?
Well, I think I agree with everything that everyone said, and I keep going back to the navigating, the resources, taking advantage, engaging. And one of our famous leaders, John Lewis, when he was talking about his college experiences and all of the protesting and so forth that he did as a young man and into his adulthood, he said that we need to find a way to get in the way. So I would say to our students, when you come to Penn, you're here, we know, to get an education, but I could promise you when you leave, you're going to make a difference. And you made a difference because you found a way to get in the way.
Thank you. Wow. Love that quote. Okay, Liz.
Well, so many wonderful things have been said that I do share. And just to underscore that, but what that means is have that intellectual curiosity. You heard our faculty talk about, and I've seen this through all my years at Penn, the student who came in and was doing honors finance and then took a German class, got excited, studied in Berlin, and ended up graduating with 2 degrees. And, being curious. But what it also means is not being afraid to go outside your comfort zone. We've talked a lot about the support system that is there. Don't come with a checklist. Think of Penn as a canvas, and everyone will paint their own picture and have their own journey. And don't let it be someone else's journey, your roommates, your older brothers or sisters. This is your journey. And allow for that to organically grow. And then I think you will have a good experience over your next 4 years.
Thank you. I'm glad we are recording this because the 5 of you, have really provided wonderful statements of what a great Penn student is. And that's very, very well said and well stated. And I'm sure our students will carry that on as they travel to Penn in the next few weeks or months. Ryan, I'm done with my part of my section here. Let's see what's happening in the Q&A portal. As an offsite correspondent here, what's happening? Do you have some questions for our colleagues here?
Yeah, thanks, Rudy. Thanks for everybody submitting their questions. One question here. comes from a student. If we are not able to be on campus this fall, I worry it will be even harder to integrate into the Penn community. How can incoming international students make new friends and connections during this time of remote learning?
Okay, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Yes, Sharon, start with it.
I thought I would start because I do want to put out a shout out, if you will, or encouraging students to go to the VPUL website and search for Locust Walk Stroll. The entire student body almost since March have been engaging that way. And also I would look to each school's website, see what meetings, activities they're having. It's amazing and quite impressive how the university of over 20,000 students have gone from in-person to virtual so successfully without any glitches. It's unbelievable. And so, yes, you can engage in resources. Career Services, for example, engaged with over 3,000 students this summer, and we were not on campus. Student Affairs had meetings, town halls, the cultural centers had virtual activities going on, lunchtime meetings. I could go on, but the website can show you sort of where you can go all across campus, wherever you are across the world. And that's what I've enjoyed this summer, is meeting so many students from across the world. One Saturday, I did a virtual tour of East Africa by meeting students on Zoom, and it was just so exciting. So we are engaging with you, and we want you to engage with us.
Thanks a lot. Okay, Sonia?
I just wanted to let you know that all of us in the schools and in the academic divisions, especially the Vice Provost's office and the Deputy Provost's office, are really working hard to create an experience for you where even from afar you feel belonged at Penn. And to that end, I know that many students' perception of engagement is real-time engagement, that is synchronous engagement. And if you are 14 hours ahead or 9 hours behind, it seems that you'll never get that opportunity. So one of the things that we're trying to figure out and how best to deliver this is to connect students in similar time zones so that you can make across, even if it is across the street or across the world, there's a way that you can engage. So there's going to be a combination of synchronous and asynchronous activities. But we will do our best to connect you to other people, your peers, people who are ahead of you, who are going to be new students, who are seasoned students, so that you can find your friend group. So stay tuned because we're working hard to make sure this happens.
Thank you. Thanks. Very, very nice. Anyone else wants to provide? Yes, Liz, go for it.
Talking about undergraduates, just a couple of quick things come to mind. I know admissions, has a Facebook group for incoming students. So I know a lot of students have gotten to know each other that way. The Assembly of International Students has had a mentorship program. So that's also a way for incoming freshmen to get an older student to support them. And I've seen it actually play its way out. We had 2 incoming freshmen from Europe who were both celebrating that they successfully got their visa and they are actually physically on their way to Philadelphia, and they were able to connect to try and coordinate so they could be on the same flight, to support each other. So those are just a couple of little things that come to mind that can help that engagement.
Thank you, Liz. Okay, Ryan, can we have another question from the Q&A site room?
Yes. This question is about kind of staff and faculty working together. Are staff working with faculties to promote wellness in the classrooms because they might not be aware of these questions?
So faculty-staff connection to promote wellness. Who wants to? Yu Hong, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. We, as a counseling center, we are very aware that in order to promote wellness in students, we have to collaborate together. The whole campus has to work together to make that happen, and also create a campus environment that really emphasizes on students' and physical and social wellness. So what we did and what we are doing is that we have really done a lot of training and also messaging to faculty member, helping them to understand what are some of the signs they should look out for from their students that might indicate that the students are struggling. And so that, when they do notice students are not doing well, and then they can actually be proactive in reaching out to the students and supporting them, but also, connecting them to the appropriate campus resources. So that has been an ongoing effort, for a number of years. And another piece that we have been done more in recent years is to really help a faculty member to lay out the policies and to lay out the resources on their syllabus. So when you do get maybe your syllabus, you may see that there is maybe a statement about disability accommodations and who to contact, but there's maybe also statement about counseling services, or when you do struggle, how you can get help. So kind of look out for that. And if they are not on the syllabus and they are not being talked about in your first class, and this is also a very good question to ask your faculty. So sort of ask them what they think about how they can support students, and if students struggle, or so I think a lot of faculty member would be happy to respond and letting you know what they think and how they can be helpful.
Thank you, Yu-Hong. Okay, Ryan, another question from the Q&A?
Yes. With many campus resources not offering in-person services, how can students access services?
Can students access services with a very remote environment like ours? Yes, Ryan, go for it. Another Ryan M.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is a great question, one that's really important to us at the Weingarten Center because we want to make sure that you connect with our services. So like many of our campus partners and centers that are offering student services, we're trying to make it as accessible and easy for students as possible. At the Weingarten Center, we have a new online scheduling system, so you can go on our website, find a learning specialist that you want to connect with, or just a time that works for you, and schedule an individual consultation with us, with student disability services, to set up tutoring. I know that Career Services uses a platform called Handshake, which has incredible resources, but also is their online scheduling system. So I think all of the centers, and including CAPS, that provide these services, we're really kind of making an effort to make them as easy to access as possible.
Anyone else? Thank you, Ryan. Anyone else want to add? Okay. Yes, Sharon, go for it.
Yeah. The question was also, I think, was about how we engage virtually and how we support our students. And just about everyone on this call, we call ourselves a multidisciplinary university team. So we work together, and the idea is to support you holistically. So for example, as Ryan just talked about, there are ways to connect with Weingarten Learning Resources. But let's say the same student who is connected with Weingarten Learning Resources has some concerns that area in Weingarten could not address. What Ryan would then do is help the student navigate to another resource by connecting that student to the resource. And student intervention services, for example, is one of those resources, right? Even CAPS, or even back to your school. And let's say, even though the student is virtual, and there are lectures going on, and they were not able to virtually participate, and they had a reason to. And they want to be able to tell someone without giving up, without divulging too much, and there might be confidential reasons why they don't want to talk to their school, for example. Our area, my area, Student Intervention Services, CAPS, are confidential, but they could still say to Sonia, who's on the call, that we have a student who was not able to make the virtual classroom today, and we want to confirm that that was the reason why, that there's a reason why, without going into detail. So I would look at the university and its resources as a team that wants to make sure you succeed and that we surround you with the resources.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, Yu Hong.
Yeah, I think just to tag on what Sharon just said, you know, in the early questions about how staff and faculty work together to promote wellness, and I know that it sometimes can be intimidating, right, to share with your faculty members about if you were struggling. So another way that we collaborate is also that if you were to reach out to, you know, CAPS staff or other resources, then we can support you, you know, also in, you know, in approaching your faculty member. Can be, you know, in specifically how you can write that email, or, you know, what you can say to the faculty, or, you know, other times be the advocate for you in broaching the subject. And I also want to mention in terms of access to services that the counseling and psychological services operates 24/7, which means that the students, wherever you are, you know, in the world, you can always call us, and there will be always someone who's on the other side of the phone to answer you and to respond to you, to support you. And it, you know, then we, even though and CAPS also remains open during the weekdays and during specific hours. So if students really need to be seen in person, you know, the door is open. And for students who are not on campus or who prefer to be supported, you know, virtually, and all the counselors are also offering, you know, therapy, individual group therapy, and other kinds of support by, you know, through BlueJeans or phone and etc. So it's, I think, like, you know, Sharon has mentioned, all the services that we are really trying to make it easy and accessible to you, regardless of where you are.
Thank you, Yu Hong. Ryan, another question from the Q&A.
Yes, one student asks about learning remotely, and they cannot participate in many extracurricular and club activities. They're wondering if they can take a higher course load above 4 CUs in the fall semester since they have enough time. Would you recommend this?
Okay, Sonia is shaking her head. Sonia, take it.
So as an academic advisor and having done this for a long time, I know that you feel like you can pile on courses and be done with it. Let me just say that just because you are not the kinds of activities that are outside of the classroom may not be available in the traditional sense. Number one, they're still going to be available, but in a different way. That's one thing. So there are many opportunities for you to engage. And secondly, it is extremely important from my point of view that wherever you are, you still need to engage with your community, your family, and really maintain your health, especially at this time. So don't try to do too much. One of the things that my advice to you is that one of the things that you have to remember is that, especially as an incoming student, everything is going to be new to you, and everything that you are going to do is also learning about new rules and how to do things. So give yourself an opportunity to do things easily and not try to do too much at once. That's my advice.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, let's go to the next question, Ryan.
Sure. This next question comes from a student that's asking, in light of the recent events that have happened in the United States, is the university offering resources or initiatives to better understand the social political context, like a reading list or videos or any other programs?
Very good question. Who wants to tackle that question? Sharon, I can see your face here, so I think I'm being led for you to answer that question.
You think so?
Yes, I just saw your face pops
Yes.
up, so go for it.
Well, it's because I really love the question. And I love the question because it tells me that students are recognizing that they're coming to an institution, that they're a member of our community. And within any community, there are lots of challenges, and especially this time in our world when we have just, in a matter of 6 months, been transformed, if you will. So the university does take all of this seriously. I know, for example, someone from CAPS, BOTC, is doing programming in collaboration, which is what I was talking about earlier, about the multidisciplinary, the collaboration. I know that CAPS and Weingarten is putting on a program next week about this very subject, talking about how to work with diverse students. I am on the university's task force looking at ways and coordinating and creating opportunities for students when they get here. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I wish I could mention all of it, but I can just reassure everyone that yes, there's a lot. For example, I'm sure when students go to the website, they see the compact. That is a collaboration between the entire university community administrators and students involved. The undergraduate assembly got involved with that. I know that there's another student organization that have resources. They get funding from the university to do work. And this spring, there was not a lot to do because we were virtual. So they made decisions about where they wanted their funding to go to support the community. So that's the engagement of students and faculty and staff and the administration. And that's why I say, find a way to get in the way. I thought that that was a very brilliant way of saying we were not able to use our funds to do activities, but we still want to do something, and what can we do with what we have? So, and the university is very open to it. So that's why you're coming. That's why you're a part of our university. While we're in the business of education, we develop citizens for the world. And so please come and be a citizen.
I know you'll get a very good response to that. Anyone else want to follow? Yes, Ryan.
Yeah, and just to add to what Sharon said, I mean, there's so many resources that you can access on campus, so it's hard to name them all, but a couple of places to start. Communications from President Gutman are published in the Almanac, and those highlight a number of great resources, including the Campaign for Community, which is an initiative out of the Provost's office. All of our cultural centers are dynamically responding to kind of events and developments as they occur, and thinking specifically about how the diverse populations within, that each of those cultural centers themselves serve, what their needs are and what programming might look like. So I would look on their website and their social media platforms as well. As Sharon said, there just is, there's so many opportunities to engage in this discussion, and I think it will, regardless of what you are studying when in your program at Penn, there are opportunities to make this part of your Penn education.
And just, if I could just add on to that, this is the year of civic engagement.
Do you want to talk about it quickly, Sharon? What it means, year of civic engagement?
Well, there's a reading project, and all incoming freshmen have been given an assigned book to read. Sonia might be able to tell you, I cannot remember the name of the book at the moment, but if you're a freshman, you should have that book or know what it is. And what happens is throughout the year, there will be activities around the topic of the book and the theme of the year, which is civic engagement. And there is a office called Civic House, and a lot of civic engagement comes out of that office. Tutoring in the West Philadelphia community, volunteering with Habitat for Humanity, all kinds of engagement that are civic oriented.
Thank you. I think I will ask the last question in terms of if there's another words of wisdom, short statements of if you have to impart something to our students before they embark on their journey, what will it be? I'll start with Liz, and then Sonia will be next. Yeah. Go for it, Liz.
These years are going to be some of the most memorable years of your life. So seize the moment. It's your journey. There are tremendous resources here. And remember the day about your fellow students. It's about the staff. It's about the community. And we're so thrilled that Penn is going to be part of that for you.
Thank you, Liz. Sonia, take it from here.
This is more of an appeal to everyone, but please be patient with us as we solve many of the problems that were unexpected. It is the first time in a pandemic for us as well.
Good one. I like that. Yu Hong?
Yeah, I really like, earlier when Sharon used that, we are a holistic kind of, environment. And I guess what my message for students is that to think about yourself as a holistic kind of personal individual. So I know many of you have, a great ambitions, for your academic and your career. So, but I would like you also to think about, pay attention your heart, your soul, and so really do things, to attend to your needs as a holistic a human being.
Thank you. Ryan?
Sometimes we see many times we see Penn students taking the approach that more is more, and even more than that is better. But I think it's really important to, especially right now, to maybe consider how less might be more. To really look for opportunities that are really meaningful for you, that enhance your experience, that connect you with others. And it may mean letting some other opportunities or other things go, so that you can find some balance and be kind to yourself.
And last but not the least, Sharon.
So I moved away for a moment so I can do what I just thought of doing. Whether you're coming back to Penn or you're going to be virtual, the world has changed. And we will never be what we call normal again. So what is the new normal is what I would ask everyone to think about. Here at Penn, one of the expectations coming in, which we've never had to do before, is we're expecting our students to engage in the community and wear a mask. That's the first thing. So there's my mask. Have it on. Everybody knows me and knows that I will have a multitude of masks that are quite fashionable. You can do that too. Have your little thing of purifier, sanitizer that helps you to be a part of the community. And why I say all of that? What is your responsibility to not only yourself, but to your peers and to your community? Ask yourself that question, and if you can answer that, I'm supposed to be respectful and protecting my friends and protecting myself and my family, I wear a mask in public and social distance. So that's my message.
Thank you. Wow, I love that demonstration too, Sharon. You're making us be responsible global citizens. With that,
Correct.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank our panelists, Dr. Guak, Dr. He, Associate Vice Provost Smith, Senior Associate Dean O'Connell, and Dr. Miller for giving us your time to engage with our new students. We're looking forward to partnering with you in the next years And for our students, before we end, again, we would like to play this welcome from all over the university. We're looking forward to having you. So stay for 1 second to be welcome.
Welcome to Penn. I'm a Penn student from Philadelphia.
Welcome to Penn.
Mabuhay.
欢迎来到 Penn.
እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ. I am from Ethiopia.
Welcome to Penn. I'm from Los Angeles, California.
We're from Penn Central. Welcome to Penn. Welcome to Penn.
Welcome to Penn. Welcome to Penn. 欢迎. Welcome to Penn. Murakazaneza. Welcome to Penn. We're so excited to welcome you home. Howdy, buddy. Welcome to Penn.
मेरा नाम सैयद नोमान कादरी है और मैं शुक्रिया.
The Kenyans at Penn want to tell you, Karibu Sana.